Sharing, Angie?
Yeah, it's connecting. Okay, we're live. We're live.
We do not hear the video right now. So we do not currently hear the video, but I would like to welcome everyone as we see if we can get that to play. So you let me know if we're going to replay it.
I'll replay it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ready. No problem. I love technology. Well, if nothing else, you can definitely see the nice slides that we have here. It's still not playing the volume.
Oh, it's still not playing the volume?
No. Can you hear it?
I can.
You gotta love it.
Okay.
And if you would like me to move forward, I mean, I will say I thought it was an awesome video. You just let me know what you would like for us to do.
I can play it with the sound if you like.
Sure. Thank you.
There's no volume.
Education at times other schools would not. They also play a distinct and vital role throughout American society, cultivating diverse talent while driving innovation and economic growth. They were originally established with the goal of educating Black Americans who were denied access to higher education prior to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But today, they still hold an important place in higher education. It is no surprise that HBCUs are a great source of career-ready talent. In fact, 25% of all African Americans with STEM degrees graduate from HBCUs. With over 100 HBCUs across 20 states, There's no shortage of schools for companies to recruit from. While HBCUs constitute just 3% of the nation's institutions of higher learning, they graduate nearly 20% of Black students who earn undergraduate degrees, and more than 50% of African American professionals and public school teachers matriculate from HBCUs. Join us for the positive impact of HBCUs in a corporate America. Now, let's talk. Let's hear from Boeing, Cash App, Missouri Department of Transportation, and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. A big welcome to our guest panelists. Thank you for being here.
So I'm going to start off by saying, asking you to give our video a round of applause, that it almost didn't want us to be great, but we are going to start off fresh and we are great. So welcome, welcome, welcome to night 3 of the Gamma Omega chapter and Ivy Alliance Foundation HBCU week. A big thank you to you all for being here with us to talk about a topic that we love, which is HBCU. And specifically tonight, we're going to talk about the positive impacts of HBCUs on corporate America. My name is Heather Day, and I serve as the Target 1 HBCU for Life Call to Action Chairman, Committee Chairman. And I will serve as one of the 3 facilitators this evening. The other 2 are Stacia Graham, who is the co-chair of the committee, and Juanita Graham, who is our other co-chair of the committee. Tonight, we will hear from 4 different companies, their personal connections to HBCUs and what their company is doing to recruit and develop a diverse pipeline of talent to their company. Tonight's goal is to have a rich discussion on the enormous talents produced at HBCUs. Educate the audience on how Black professionals graduate from HBCUs are groomed to be resilient and steadfast when entering the job market. Show the connection of how companies are recruiting more Blacks now than ever, and the positive impact of HBCUs in corporate America. But before we get started, I would like to introduce Mrs. Lanita D. Blackman, who is the president of the Gamma Omega chapter. Mrs. Blackman.
Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Day. As she stated, my name is Lanita Blackman, the president of Gamma Omega chapter and the Ivy Alliance Foundation. As we continue to celebrate day 3 of activities to celebrate HBCU week, it is exciting to hear about how corporate America has played a role with students from HBCUs. By now, most of you know that the Vice President of the United States, Kamala D. Harris, is a proud graduate of Howard University. She has noted on several occasions that the skills she learned by attending an HBCU helped her to navigate her career. Other notable HBCU alums, such as Spike Lee, Thurgood Marshall, Ruth Simmons, Oprah Winfrey, and may he rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, have paved the way for others to follow in their footsteps. When you see those who look just like you in the workplace, who have had the same education as you, it can become a great networking tool in looking for jobs, learning the ways of various cultural work environments, and so much more. Thank you to our panelists, Cheryl Milton Roberts, Robin Hines, Dr. Marla Ash, and Shana Pryor, and Kristen Leak, as they explained to us this evening about their connections with HBCUs, how their companies recruit HBCU graduates, and much, much more. Thank you to our Target 1 HBCU for Life chair, co-chairs, and committee members for providing this opportunity for those of you who are viewing with us this evening. I will leave you with this thought. If you have the courage to begin, you have the courage to succeed. Take every bit of advice given here this evening to ensure that you are always the better candidate for that position. Be focused, be empowered, and success will follow. Thank you again. Enjoy the program and have a wonderful evening.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now we will get started with introductions of our panelists. I'm going to hand it over to Miss Juanita Graham and Stacia Graham.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Day. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. As Mrs. Day and Mrs. Blackman shared, we have a dynamic group of speakers engaging with us, representing a diverse set of industries and organizations, but the common thread is their passion to HBCU enrichment and nurturing the diverse global talent pipeline. I'd like to start off by introducing Ms. Kristen Lee. Kristen is a human resources professional and program manager for Boeing's Global Talent Acquisition Team. With a focus on intern and entry-level careers, Kristen leads the development and implementation of strategies that shape how the company builds the best team and talent in key markets. Next up, we have Mrs. Robin Hines. Robin Hines is an early career development lead at Cash App, focusing on traditional university programs, grads and interns, apprenticeships, returnships, and everything in between. Her background mirrors her passion as she loves helping candidates grow into their career paths and building diverse, equitable, and inclusive working environments. She's built talent HR initiatives from the ground up while cultivating existing programs at both mature and new companies. Robin holds a Bachelor of Arts in Corporate Communications from Lindenwood University. She sits on the Community Outreach Leadership Committee of SMPHR and is a volunteer with community programs such as SIHS, Healthy Start, Empower, and Hawthorne Leadership Academy for Girls. Robin is also a proud member of East St. Louis graduate chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. More personally, she considers herself a short hair enthusiast and eyeglass fanatic that loves all things beauty and fashion and is a shameless member of the Beehive. We'll turn it over to Ms. Stacia Graham.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. So I have the pleasure of introducing our other two panelists. So I'll start with Sharon Milton Roberts. She is an experienced senior diversity and inclusion practitioner. Ms. Milton Roberts received her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Missouri Columbia with a double major in business and journalism and a Master of Arts in Human Resource Development from Webster University. She has also attained the Senior Professional in Human Resource Certification with her HR specialty being organizational development. Growing up in a military family, Ms. Milton Roberts had the opportunity to live in a variety of cities, both stateside and abroad. This helped fuel her passion for educating and advocating for diversity and inclusion in the community at large. She is often called upon to provide insights or to facilitate groups that are working to develop solutions to local and regional diversity and inclusion issues. Outside of her day job, she is an avid cook, gardener, and member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Her motto and goal is changing the world one conversation at a time. Welcome, Ms. Milton Roberts. And then I will move into our next panelist, last but not least. Dr. Marla Ash currently serves as the Assistant Vice President of Scholarships for the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. She has over 20 years of experience in marketing with Fortune 500 companies, including Hbcus, Pepsi, and Sara Lee, to name a few. She is no stranger to the power of education, holding a Bachelor of Science degree in interpersonal communication from Arizona State University, a Master of Business Administration with a concentration in marketing from the Keller Graduate School of Management, and a doctoral of business administration degree in international management from Argosy University. Prior to her current role, she served as the chair of the Communication, Humanities, and Arts Department and associate professor of business at Midway University in Midway, Kentucky. Dr. Ash is very well known in marketing sectors and is an entrepreneur with interest in consumer behavior research, practical business curriculum, and educational venues. We welcome you, Dr. Ash. Thank you.
And part B of the last but certainly not least is Ms. Shana Pryor, who serves as the Senior Manager of Scholarship for Thurgood Marshall College Fund. So welcome all of you, and we are so pleased to have you here this evening. So we're just going to jump into this. If this is not Black Girl Magic, power, and everything else, I don't know what it is. So I'm loving the faces on this screen. I'm loving that we are sisters, and it's just incredible. So we're going to get started with our opening statement that we're going to ask each panelist to respond to. First is, do you have a personal connection to HBCUs? If so, Please share. Also, what do you do in your current job to promote HBCUs, recruit, and or connect HBCU students with jobs? Well, let's go with Miss Kristen Lee.
All right, thank you for the question. Yes, I do have a very deep and personal connection with HBCUs. I'm a proud alumna of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, third generation Rattler. I grew up going to the Orlando Classic and the homecoming game. So before high school, I had already made a personal decision that I was going to FAMU. And by, my junior year, I had also already decided that I was going to start at the School of Business and Industry. So absolutely have long-standing and deep ties with HBCUs. Really excited in my current role as a part of that. My passion continues as the program manager for our Boeing TMCF HBCU partnership, which I hope we'll have a chance to talk about more later, but certainly a multifaceted engagement strategy that we have with HBCUs and TMCF being a key partner in that.
Thank you. Ms. Hines.
Yes, you got it right. Awesome. So again, thank you for the question. And while I'm not an HBCU graduate, I wouldn't necessarily call it personal connection, but I call it more of a responsibility. You mentioned it, it's a lot of Black girl magic on this call. And I think as Black women, especially, we definitely have that responsibility to make sure that we're showing up and we're showing out. Even if it's not for us, it would be for the next generation or for our sister next to us or our brother next to us. And on top of that, obviously, family and friends that are HBCU graduates, and just making sure that I'm passionate about showing up when we can. And then as it relates to, what I do in my professional life, making sure that we have the HBCU presence, it really just starts with making sure that we're showing up and making sure that the opportunities are both accessible and equitable, and that our HBCU students can see themselves in places like Cash App or like Boeing, et cetera.
Okay, Ms. Cheryl, you're up next.
Thank you. I thought long and hard about this because I'm not an HBCU graduate. And then I realized that I have a really personal connection. And in very simply, that my mother attended Alcorn State University for a year by virtue of the fact that her older sister actually paid for her to attend. And she herself was a graduate of Alcorn State University, as are many of my cousins. My dad was a military gentleman, so I didn't get an opportunity to really, go to the games and all of that kind of thing. But what I got the benefit of was their commitment to education, in part of which they learned from Alcorn State University. So I was never asked, do you want to go to college? I was asked, what are you going to study when you go? And I think a lot of that was attributed to, the lessons that she learned, especially given that my mother was born in 1921. So I'm talking about, way back when. And from a work standpoint, I think that, as the previous panelists stated, I have an obligation to ensure that, young people get an opportunity to see the opportunities that are available wherever I am working. And I've taken that as a personal commitment. And so I walk in oftentimes and there's not really a lot of, focus on, HBCUs and, African-American students and so forth. And so it's my obligation to bring that. And so I do. And as I, said in my bio, it's often one conversation at a time. But I think we owe that and we have to do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr. Ash or Ms. Shauna.
Well, I will always like to tell people I am not an alum of an HBCU, but I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which automatically makes me personally connected to HBCUs. So I like to always share with people, I may be HBCU adjacent, but as the previous panelists stated, I've always been one of only in many of the corporate boardrooms that I've been in which, as I pivot through my career, has brought me to Thurgood Marshall College Fund, where we have been impacting students for over 30 years at our public HBCUs. currently I'm responsible for making sure that students are able to matriculate through our HBCUs as the Assistant Vice President of Scholarships. But I work with a phenomenal team at TMCF. And our mission is truly to ensure that we are giving students an opportunity to thrive, but not only students, creating organizations that are cultivating and looking for diverse talent. So I'm just so honored to be here, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into our conversation to see exactly, and also to share exactly what we've been doing at Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Ash, I mean, I think that is a perfect transition. I am really excited for us to dive into as well. So, given that you helped us with that segue there, would you like to start off by telling us, sharing with the audience what your company, or share with the audience how your company partners and invests in HBCUs to develop the diverse talent pipeline?
Perfect. Well, Thurgood Marshall College Fund, I always like to say go to tmcf.org, but we have 3 strategic pillars. 1, scholarships. I will say that if you're looking at Thurgood Marshall at scholarship, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. The second pillar is our talent acquisition. We are one of the leading organizations in talent development for many Fortune 500 companies in meeting their D&I needs. And third, policy and advocacy. We're headquartered in DC. We are very active on the Hill, ensuring that we are creating sustainability lifelines for our students, but also for our institutions. And so in working with our HBCUs and working with our talent acquisition team, we look at our student population where we have access to over 300,000 students that we're able to kind of groom and place them in environments where they can thrive within different organizations. And it can be from placing them into position to internships to immersive activities so students can kind of get a way to build their resumes or their vitas through experience that's not always knocking at our front door. And so I think one of the things that in working with Thurgood Marshall College Fund, we understand our population, but we also understand the needs within corporate America. And we've been doing a phenomenal job of kind of blending those needs together. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So I'm going to move on and ask that same question to our other panelists, but I'm going to wrap back around because I have some questions to ask you regarding some of your strategies and how you do what you do. All righty. So let's go to MoDOT. Would you like me to restate the question? Please. I can do that. Okay. Please share with the audience how your company partners and invests in HBCUs to develop a diverse pipeline of talent.
Thank you. What I would tell you is that MoDOT has always been out there as a welcoming place for students from all different types of universities. And one of the things that's happened to us in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years is that we've really gotten focused on how do we really, reach out and ensure that we're bringing the diversity into MoDOT that is our community as a whole. And so we've been really working and striving to ensure that we're aware of, different types of events, different types of programs and so forth that can bring in talent in the various disciplines that we have. We have a lot of people that are civil engineers and other types of engineers. And so that's important to us. We also, just to throw this in there, in addition to our HBCU, students that we're focusing on, we also are focusing on African-American students that are interested in trade. So we kind of do a balance between the two, because one of the things that we're finding is that oftentimes students aren't aware of those very pertinent careers, right? And, perhaps there's not a desire for college, or there's a desire for college, but just doing something a little bit different. And so we also, partner that with the trades. We've been lucky in that we've got some strong folks within MoDOT that have HBCU connections. they are our guides, and they are the ones that kind of help us to determine, where to look and where to go. And then one of the things that we've started doing that I think has been very effective is we have been building on our internship programs and our mentorship programs. So we have an internship program that we run every year that we actually, ran during the pandemic and so forth, and, took it virtual, where they're coming together, we're doing things to develop the students so that they are, set to transition to the world of work, but also to go back and to be good ambassadors about MoDOT on their campus, because we don't have a huge, recruiting staff or, what have you. So we need those students to have a really great experience and to really feel as though they learned something so that they can spread the word about the opportunities, within MoDOT. And the fact that it's not just a job, but it's an opportunity for them to really provide service and to give back using their engineering or their, business type degree, but it's an opportunity for service. And that's important to us.
Excellent. So I find it very interesting that not only do you go in and partner with HBCUs, but trade. So, maybe college isn't for everyone. So I really think that is incredible strategy that you're looking into that as well. And so a question that I will ask you is, once we wrap back around, I'm going to hit the other two, but I would like to just hear a little bit more about what that looks like in terms of the trade and how you approach those students. Is that like out of high school, or we'll talk about to that soon. I get excited. So I'm going to follow my notes. Okay, next, let's go to Boeing. Ms. Leeks, please share with the audience how your company partners and invests in HBCUs to develop a diverse talent pipeline.
Thank you for that question. I'm really excited to share. As I mentioned earlier, we do have really a multifaceted engagement when it comes to HBCUs. We start early with our immersion program, where we're engaging with HBCU freshmen and sophomore students. It's a multi-day experience. We've brought the students onto Boeing sites, really immerse them in the different work that our team members are doing across the enterprise, and also starting to really envision what a career path could look like for them in our industry, which is always a really exciting part of our year when it comes to engagement. We also have a scholars program, which is a scholarship-linked internship program, in addition to the paid internships that are across the enterprise, so business, IT, engineering opportunities. We also include scholarships to those program participants over 3 years to help them with their continued education, which is another exciting part of what we do. And beyond that, we also have a focus on the experience. So in addition to those programs where we work with select HBCU partners, once HBCU students come on board with Boeing, we're also really focused on the experience that you have once you're here. So connecting HBCU interns with mentors, and then also dedicating time to events for networking, right? So finding kind of your HBCU network at Boeing is a really great way to make a large company feel a little less complex as well. And development and career mapping for those interns as they come on board as well. It's really important for us. And then hiring as well, right? So right now we have an accelerated path to our summer 2022 internships dedicated to our HBCU students. So for our paid business, IT, and engineering internships that are taking place next year, we've also been engaging all fall with HBCU students about those internship opportunities that are available now. So those are some of the ways that we're engaging with talent to develop and also invest. I should also mention our capacity grants as well. So those are different ways that we're engaging and hiring HBCU students, but with our HBCU partners through the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, we also make capacity building grants as well to our HBCU partners. So a lot of different ways that we are touching, engaging, developing, and investing in HBCUs.
Absolutely. So I've taken notes with you as well, but what I'm hearing so far with our 3 out of 4, which is so amazing, is that from a Alpha Kappa Alpha standpoint, we, through our signature program, CAP, we help students enroll into college, and we encourage them to attend an HBCU, but we want them to be prepared no matter what. And so the next step, once you say we help you get to an HBCU, the goal for tonight with our panelists is for our audience to see that there are so many opportunities for you. You just need to know about them. And that's why we are here tonight, to make that connection between what corporate America is doing or work doing with their partnerships with HBCUs to bring more diverse talent to their companies, which means giving you job opportunities and helping you to be successful, productive people in your lives. So that is our connection. I always like to be able to tell a story so that everyone can understand what we're trying to do here. So last but certainly not least, unless Ms. Shauna, if you want to say something, let me know, just raise your hand. If not, we're gonna go to Ms. Robin with Cash App. And Robin, yep, same question. Please share with us what your company is doing to partner and invest in HBCUs to develop a diverse pipeline.
Absolutely. So just for a little bit of background context, Cash App is actually an ecosystem of Square, which is the financial payment services company built for small businesses and things alike. So when I'm speaking, I will be speaking both from some of Square's strategy in addition to Cash App strategy, because Cash App has this unique opportunity being such a young company, just released back in 2013. We're still working on our strategy as we develop things centered around HBCU, but partnering with Square, it really just comes down to, again, showing up and showing out, attending the different events and partnering with the different universities centered around STEM and things alike. One of the big things that Square and Cash App did recently was participated in HBCU Battle of the Brains, which is a scholarship competition around STEM and bring awareness to STEM projects and solutions, providing sponsorship and scholarship. So I think the big thing for both Square and Cash and even some of the other companies on this call is not only showing up, but putting your money where your mouth is and investing financially. And that's one thing that we have been really passionate about when it comes to, again, providing those scholarship opportunities along with those sponsorships. Also working with some of those strategic partners, such as Color Stack and DreamWorks and different things like that. That is a great initial pipeline. So some of these strategic opportunities, they focus on students as early as elementary school and high school, but then they also build that pipeline to HBCUs. So investing in those strategic partners has been a huge proponent in our strategy and how we make that connection, but then also going directly to the schools that have that opportunity that we're looking for, that have those STEM students, that have those design students, those creative students. And then, more specifically on the Cash side, again, because it is such a young company, we have such a big opportunity here, but building a strategy around awareness. So again, I mentioned that accessibility and that equitability when it comes to making students aware of what is out there and what they can be and how they can be it. That's a big part of my strategy right now as I build out how we're going to approach focusing on those Black and Brown students, and then also making the opportunities, again, pretty, making them exciting. It's such a competitive market right now. And if we're talking about this next generation, they have options. And so making sure that when we're having that options conversation, our Black students are at the center of this. They are just as competitive as their white counterparts. And so we want to be sure that they get these glamorous opportunities as well, and that we are becoming attractive for them, not only within work, but within culture. And then another big thing is engaging our employee resource groups. So the folks that are already working within the organization that have these ties and personal connections to HBCUs, Black and Brown students, making sure they're involved and asking them where would they like us to show up, and then simply going there.
Excellent, thank you. And we appreciate the background. It's always nice to have that background so you can kind of understand the big picture. So the subset of the first question, we'll just kind of wrap back around and dig a little bit deeper into some of the statements that you've made. So starting back with TMCF, you talked about what does grooming look like. What, in terms of like your location and your span, how do you pick areas in which you focus on? Do you have, so we know that there are over 100 HBCUs. We know there are a plethora of companies out there. Like, what is your starting point in terms of those initiatives that you have in place to connect, just make the connection in general, almost like your starting point?
Okay. I think I would look at it in two paths. First, TMCF, we support our publicly supported HBCUs. And so we're already looking at a bucket of students already at those institutions. And we have 47 member schools that are linked to our organization. The second path is that we work with corporate partners like Boeing, like Apple, where they are looking to fill students within their pipeline, but not just put students in their pipeline, but develop them and ensure that they're able to be successful once they enter into their organizations. And so when we're looking at, how do we go about doing that? I mean, we're very methodical on how we are viewing the students and also methodical on how we're viewing the partners, because we want to create an environment. I think the last panelist said, it's nothing about just getting them there, but we need to make sure that they are prepared. And, many of our programs, and as, our panelists discussed with Boeing, it is multi-year. So not only are we giving them access through scholarships as they're maintaining, but they're going through professional development. We have events like our Leadership Institute, which is one of our staple events that we bring students in, hand-selected students, to DC to participate in a professional development and job fair. And so they come in as students, but they leave as professionals. And those partners that come to our Leadership Institute are partners that are looking for that particular talent, ranging from STEM, business, general education, liberal arts. It varies. And one of the things that I think we do a pretty good job of is assessing the needs. It's nice to be able to have organizational A say, hey, I have a D&I need, but they haven't really unpacked it and to understand exactly what does that mean? What does that look like? And how do you go about doing it? Because you just don't want the check the box kind of organization. So we help cultivate the organization to be able to put our students in so they can thrive. And also, I think the thing that, we kind of miss, and I think the last panelist she mentioned, is that we want these nice opportunities, but we want to put them in an environment where they can thrive. And it's a safe environment so they can ask the questions, they can try different events, try different areas. And I think that's one of the key sticking points in working with our partners and also with our students, is that it's very intentional on how we go about developing those relationships. I hope I answered your question.
You did. I mean, it almost seems like you're kind of like a consultant, like maybe like a middle person, where you have this group of 40 plus HBCUs that you're already partnering with. They're using you as a resource and kind of you're helping each other, but then you also have partnership with companies such like Boeing, for an example, helping them with their talent pool as well. So that's
I think that's the way that you described it is perfect. I mean, because again, our three strategies is scholarship, talent acquisition, and then policy and development. So we want to make sure that students get into school and maintain in school. And while they're in school, we want to create opportunities for them to be employable upon graduation. But then also we're working with policy and advocacy, where we're changing policies and we're making laws that are, cultivating success for our HBCU students.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Then let's move to Ms. Cheryl with MoDOT. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your recruiting for trade looks like? Because
Yes,
I'm sure there's an audience that would love to hear about that. Yeah, didn't know it.
What I'd like to do, I'll definitely talk to that, but I also like to kind of paint a little bit of a picture in that. And it was like something that was interesting to me to learn about the intentionality, if you will, of what we do. We really start out with bring your son or daughter to work day, okay? Because what we found is that most people don't really know what we do at MoDOT. So we are very much advocates of bringing young people in so they can actually see what does a transportation agency do. We also are strong proponents of a wonderful program that we call Youth Transportation Camp. For high school, I think it's juniors and seniors, it's a free camp. It's been housed at Lincoln University, but then they bring them to St. Louis University. They get an opportunity to work with our engineering team. They learn how to build bridges. They learn how to, make dams work. How does the water go under the bridge, and how do you keep the water from, eroding the pillars and so forth. I learned more than they did, I think, in that particular environment. But to get them excited about this whole notion of STEM, and we invite lots of schools, but we really try and make sure that we get our students of color into that youth transportation camp. Specifically because it's just a great program, and they get an opportunity to spend that time on a campus, both the St. Louis University, but also at Lincoln University in Jefferson City. We also, on an annual basis, in multiple locations, do what we call Construction Career Day. Again, inviting high school students, okay? And we have tradespeople from all over. When we do the event in St. Louis, it's actually at one of the larger construction companies. The schools come in, they bus the students in, and they spend hours with us learning about, the different areas of expertise. How do you get into trades? We have people talking to them, actually giving formal presentations, as well as they get to go out, they get to see the equipment. We have created games and different things to engage them so that they can really learn what is this thing all about. For those students that have an interest in going on to college, we're talking about that at that point too. But we're also talking about the fact that if you make the decision not to go to college, there's an opportunity for you, because there's training programs to help you to become a professional in whichever trade you decide. We are also supporters of a program that's called the BUD program, which is basically a program that brings in young people, and I don't know the ages, so I shouldn't say young people, young adults, and male and female, and gives them an opportunity to learn about their chosen trade. And they have mentorship, they have training, both hands-on as well as book learning, if you will. And we support that program on an annual basis. And then those folks, because they have that additional training, obviously are going to, move higher, excuse me, on the list for opportunities that, would be had wherever they choose to apply. But we're one of the sponsors for that, for that particular program. What I have seen and what I think is true is that oftentimes a lot of our young people don't know the opportunities that exist. They don't know the areas, to even say, I want to be a civil engineer. They don't know what that is. And so the more that we can get in front of them and tell them about these opportunities, and then show them people who are doing these jobs and allow them to ask the questions, then we can pique their interest and then get them, on their way to, some type of a career in STEM. And so those are some of the programs that we use. Construction Career Day is a huge hit because they come, they get their vests, they get their hard hats, and, they get to really experience, what it is. And for some, they're, you can just see the amazement because they never knew, that all this stuff was going on, or that you use numbers in this way. This is why math is important. Or, this is why being able to be collaborative is important, because you're working as a team, as part of that crew to build that bridge. They never knew anything about that before. So, at first I was kind of like, why are we talking to young kids like this? And then when you start to see it, it's really magic. So it's really very cool.
I would imagine it is absolutely magical, because out of this group, I was actually really interested to hear what, Missouri Department of Transportation, what you're doing, because we just don't hear a lot about it. Do you find that students of color are a little hesitant to participate in some of the awesome programs that you offer? Because it sounds like once you get in there, it's pretty interesting, especially those that are heavily into STEM.
Right.
But maybe they don't make the connection sometimes.
I think a lot of times they just don't know. I think you're right. And I think also and this is I'm going to say something that's kind of a personal statement. I think going to college is very important, but college isn't necessarily for every person, right? And so to provide an opportunity for someone to be able to build a skill and to be a professional, at whatever it is they choose to do, and to be proud of that work is just as important as, for that person that's college bound, making them, feel very good about each choice that they make. So they make the choice that's best for them. The other thing that we also talk about is that it's not necessarily an either or, because you could actually go through and learn a trade and then decide that you want to become an engineer. Okay, I mean, it has happened. Okay, so it's not you can only choose one kind of situation, or you can go to college and decide, oh, I'd rather be in the trades. So I think it's really about, to your point, providing them the terminology, providing them the access, providing them the ability to just really kind of step back and think about how does this look and feel to me, and where do I fit? And there is some hesitancy, I believe, because, and I'll say this from personal experience from a dear friend of mine. He had a degree in construction management from Tuskegee University. And one of the things that he said, and it really kind of stuck with me, is that I have all this education and I make a very good salary and so on. But because I don't come out in a suit, people don't think that of me, right? So they think that I'm not as educated or not as, but in actuality, it's just a different role, and all those roles are important. And so it's a matter of giving people that exposure, and letting them see that, yeah, you may be dirty at the end of the day, but you got serious technical skills and you can go far with that.
Well, I always think it's really cool when we see our Vice President, Bethany Williams, in a hard hat out there doing her thing.
Exactly. And you can also be pretty doing it also.
You really can. You can be attractive and do it. It's all good. So I'm going to ask one more question under this, and then I'm going to go to the next question. I'm going to have Boeing start off with that next question. But to kind of wrap up this question with Cash App, you talked about the battle of the brains, and just kind of being newer to all of this. What has been a challenge for you in terms of recruiting diverse candidates because you're so new? Or maybe it's not a challenge. Maybe they're all running your way. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? So, I think it's the latter, because Cash App is so popular amongst the next generation of talent. It's not necessarily a challenge to find the talent, but much like the conversation that we're having now, there's always going to be a challenge to make sure that our Black students, again, have that accessibility. And then it really does start with, like the panelists before me said, how they are viewing careers. Are they coming to work with their parent to see what their parent does? Do to see what their parent does? Do they know that there's a career out there for them outside of just doctor and lawyer? Do they know that if they are creative, they can go work on the Cash App design team? Do they know that if they like taking things apart and putting them back together, they can be a software engineer? Do they know that if they like talking to people, that they can go work in human resources? So I think when I think of the challenge, it really just, again, comes down to accessibility, but also comes down to showing people just how in depth that they can get with their career and how their passions really can mimic what they go into in the professional world. There was this meme out there, and it was like, all the people that talk too much in school, what are you doing now? And I'm like, that's me. I was that one that talked too much, and now look. And then also understanding that, while STEM is definitely amazing, it's definitely at the forefront, a lot of these technology companies have so many other opportunities to offer you. There's operations, there's finance, there's human resources. You can do so many different things within these technology companies. That every technology company has some type of operations behind it. So again, it's not necessarily a challenge to get the talent there, because again, it's popularity amongst this next generation. They're all using Cash App. They prefer Cash App. I don't know that they even carry cash anymore. But again, it really just comes down to, like we talked about, making sure that those glamorous opportunities are very accessible to our Black and Brown students. And then even when it relates to HBCUs, I'm not going to call this a challenge, but looking at some of those schools that don't necessarily have the popularity, like a Hampton, a Howard, a TSU, a FAMU. When I think about the city of St. Louis, we have an HBCU right here in our backyard that maybe doesn't necessarily have this national coverage, but we have this responsibility to make sure that Harris Stowe students even have those same opportunities, especially to companies like Boeing and Cash App, who were founded in the St. Louis area, Panera and things alike. So looking at those underground HBCUs, those HBCUs that don't necessarily have this big presence, that aren't always necessarily getting those big donations, that are not necessarily always getting this televised coverage, and making sure that those students feel loved and heard too, and making sure that their education and their experience is valued, and that they can show up in places like Cash App and Boeing, et cetera, and they can come in and do just the same job.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All righty, well, next question, we're going to start off with Boeing. How long has your company included HBCUs as a part of your recruiting strategy? And I will, before you talk, I just want to share that I think I thought it was really fitting to ask, start off this question with Boeing because of my own personal experience. I'm working at Boeing for almost 16 years. And how I actually got to Boeing is it was a partnership with Boeing and Alabama A&M University, and a scholarship that I applied for. And I was telling one of our members earlier today that our chapter awarded 7 $1,000 scholarships on Sundays to HBCU students, but this was the same opportunity that I had with Boeing, becoming a recipient of one of their scholarships, getting that and staying in contact with Boeing, and then becoming interning with Boeing. The whole time Boeing was like talking every day with the dean of business at my school, and then being blessed to have a job a week after I graduated. And so, that's just a testament, as well as with my husband with the Walmart company. He interned with them and worked with them right out of college as well. So tell us a little bit about the long history. I say long because, again, it was, 16 plus years history that Boeing has had in terms of your recruiting strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that story, Heather. Thanks for sharing that. I feel like I have a similar story, but I will say as long as Boeing has had university recruitment and university recruiting strategies, HBCUs have absolutely been a part of that fabric. I myself was recruited on campus when Boeing team members and FAMU alumni came to my campus and recruited me into the intern program. I came back a second year and a third year, and never stopped coming back. So I think that's definitely testament. So that was a decade or more ago now. Prior to my story at Boeing, I think you can definitely believe that there were similar stories, right? So Boeing HBCU alumni who have been positioned across the enterprise at leadership levels, at new hire levels, who have been showing and proving the ability for HBCU students and the talent that comes from these campuses, the ability to shape and mold the company, the industry, and continue to reach back. A couple of the panelists also spoke about just the Black girl magic and the obligation and responsibility to reach back. I believe Boeing HBCU alumni have also been reaching back for years. And again, it's really as long as we've been on college campuses, HBCUs have been central to that. And we continue to evolve that strategy. I think alumni are still very central to our campus engagement, which is really important. It's a way that as HBCU students, you can see yourself on a certain career path. Since my intern story, I have held a number of different roles from finance, now in HR and supply chain and manufacturing. I've been amazed by the number of things that you can do at the Boeing company. And a part of that, I'm just one HBCU alumna, right? That is matriculated across the company in different career paths. I mean, when you start opening up engineering career paths, some of the things that HBCU alumni are doing on our at Boeing in engineering and other technical fields as well, just blows you away. Tech fellows, others that have trademarks and other IP for Boeing under their resume now, just amazing. So I'm excited as well to see how our engagement has continued to grow over the years, but still holding on to some of those things that are central to it, like placing HBCU alumni at the forefront of it and continuing to engage at different parts of the talent pipeline for sure.
And in our comments, not only is your and my story the same, Miss Stacia and Miss Juanita, they have the same stories in terms of the partnership with Tennessee State University and Boeing. Dr. Ash.
Yes, and I wanted to I love how you guys are talking about going and giving students access from the HBCUs. And I think, as we mentioned earlier, I see TMCF being that catalyst to give that exposure, because at all of our 47 member schools, we have a dedicated person that is employed at the school who is a TMCF campus coordinator. And their role is to give students opportunity and exposure to everything that we're bringing the corporations to their school, because they may not stop at a hair store or they may not stop at a Lincoln, but still giving them that opportunity for that type of exposure. And once they get the exposure, for the opportunity to actually participate in immersive type programs, internship type of programs that could possibly lead into employment. So I challenge everyone that is listening, that is a part of a public HBCU, go find your campus coordinator. It's normally at the career service, but we bring these opportunities to our member schools, so the students will have opportunities and have stories like the one that you shared.
And not only did I have an opportunity to experience that, but when I worked in Huntsville, I had the opportunity to go back on campus and recruit and talk to classmates and other students about the experience. So I appreciated that Boeing had that type of opportunity in place to take the current employees and take them back. And so that was really good. Are you all still doing that, Kristen?
Oops, sorry. Yes, absolutely, Heather. That is definitely continues to be a part of our engagement for sure.
All righty, let's see. Tell us how your organization has had success in recruiting HBCU graduates. Some of you may have hit on that a little bit, but if there's anything that stands out to you, we would love to hear how your organization has had success in recruiting HBCU graduates or interns. Let's see, Ms. Cheryl.
I think the thing that has been good for us, and I'm going to kind of focus on the internship program, is that in the last, I want to say 3 years, we've really been focusing on the internship program, because we think that is, we're not a huge organization from a recruiting standpoint and so forth. And so I think that word of mouth has really helped us, because we have a very robust and very, I think, inclusive internship program. We were kind of put to the test last year with pandemic going on, and there was some thought of, okay, well, do we not do this, or what do we do? And I have to say that I was even impressed with what we did, because basically they ramped up the program and made the program better than it ever had been before, with more touch points, more presenters, more opportunities for the interns to interact with one another, online as well as in the workplace where they themselves are. And then one of the things that I actually got to participate in this year was actually as, I guess I don't want to say elder, I hate saying that word, but as a person who is more seasoned in the workplace, having an opportunity to actually connect and sort of casually mentor, if you will, those interns that we brought in so that they would feel as though they belong and they would feel as though, they had someone to talk to and they could get, what they needed to be successful. And I definitely think it's paying off. I think that robustness of the program and the programming and talking about not just, technical things, but even things like, what do you need to do about your credit? How does credit work? Things of that nature. When you get a real job and you start making money, here's some things that you need to know because you've got to get an apartment and, all these different things. So real life experience things, making that a part of the program. And I think that's really helped us to, A, make the program something that people want to participate in, B, something that they will go back and talk about, and C, making it more attractive to those that perhaps maybe would not have considered a governmental or governmental agency, as an opportunity. And so I think that's something that we've done relatively well.
Robin?
Can you all hear me? Can you repeat the question again for me, Heather?
No problem. Tell us how your organization has had success in recruiting HBCU graduates or interns.
Yeah, so I would say the Square and Cash App ecosystem in general is just pretty diverse, and they continue to put that at the forefront. But I'm going to go back to working with employee resource groups and how that has really been successful, both on the Square and the Cash App side, really tapping back into the employees that are in the organization, again, sharing their experiences and where they come from, and tapping back into their alum, being a representative of, that Square Cash App culture and how, again, it comes down to, can the students see themselves in these positions? And so that has really been a pillar of success for us. And it's a real life experience. And it's not just a, hey, we're coming to your school to promote our organization. We want you to come work for us because of what you can do for us. Or for what you can do for us. It's more about what we can do for them as well. It's an even exchange. And that's something I always emphasize to students is, be picky with your time, be picky with where you choose to place yourself, be picky with your opportunities. And so I think because we are engaging real life people who have real life experiences, both at the schools that we are recruiting at and the company that we are working with, it's relatable, it's nostalgic, it feels good, it feels natural, it feels genuine, it feels organic. And that is really where the success lies, because those connections mean everything. And then again, just your traditional recruiting strategy, again, showing up and being present and making sure that the opportunities are there and making sure that the opportunities are visible. And then even looking at some of those niche opportunities where it's not just, hey, we're attending your career fair, but hey, what kind of events are the campus affinity groups holding? What are your Black student unions doing, and how can Cash App, how can Square be a part of it? What are your women in STEM doing, specifically your Black women in STEM? What are they doing, and how can we help? How can we support? But overall, again, putting real life and putting organic and genuine actions behind what we do and who shows up, that has really been a pillar of our success. And it has really helped us take things to the next level. And it really has helped the awareness and the visibility to our opportunities. I think that's probably the biggest part.
I think that's a really good transition into the next question in terms of the uniqueness of your approach. What are you all doing? What makes your company unique in terms of your recruitment style? So it sounds like you kind of, you're meeting them where they are, and just really, it sounds like you're really engaging, but is there anything else that stands out to you that is very unique that you may not see from other companies that you do?
For sure. I would also say providing opportunities with a means to an end. So when you think of internships, historically, interns are seen as the person to do the busy work, the person to do what everyone else doesn't want to do. But I think what really sets Cash App and Square, and again, I keep mentioning them as a whole because they operate as an ecosystem, and the interns sit within both companies, but providing opportunities with a means to an end, and not just putting opportunities out there to fill space and to fill seats. These opportunities that interns get a chance to work on, they lead to real life opportunities, very similar to what the young lady said about Boeing. These roles that the students come in and doing the things that they work on, they're making a difference in the company. They are being treated as a real life employee. They get benefits. They have the wherewithal to do any and everything. They have the wherewithal to sit in on sessions. They have the opportunity to network with folks within the company. So it's not just, hey, I'm going to have you come in here and you're going to work in Excel spreadsheets all day. You're going to work on projects that make a difference to our customers, that make a difference to our business. And then ultimately, you're going to work on something that's going to land you a full-time job. So that has been what has stood out the most to me about working within the Square Cash App space, is that when they are looking for that next generation, they are looking for somebody who they see here for the long haul. It's not a busy work. It's not just a summer activity. It's not just because I know your parents. It's not just because, whatever the relationship may be. It's because you're meant to be here. You're supposed to be here. And we want you here long term. So having a means to an end, it seems small, but it really is everything, especially for these students, and especially in this market. I think we might all be HR people here. The fight for talent is real, both at the entry and at the senior level. So creating a space where people can work on things that really make a difference and they lead to a long-term opportunity, that's big, that's important. And again, these students, they have options. They do not have to stay with your company, and especially now with this virtual working world. So and even then, when we're thinking about our diverse students, our Black students, again, making sure that they have something that makes a difference, that it makes the difference.
Absolutely. I've definitely been there, done that. Okay, so we're going to get comments from Dr. Marla and Kristen.
I love when you said talent is searching for talent. It can be a struggle. And this is where, I got to wave the TMCF flag. This is where we excel. Just to throw out little statistics, for over 18 years, we have placed 150 students in 135 different cities in 32 states in careers, not just a job, not just an activity, into careers. And one of the things that makes us so unique, although we're Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and again, I tell you, if you're thinking about TMCF is just scholarship, you haven't even seen underneath the water at the full iceberg. But we have created an opportunity for our TMCF members, students. If you go to Who's Next, it is truly a robust website where we're sourcing students for careers. One example, peek underneath the tent, it will be coming down the pipeline this week. H&M is looking for students who they're willing to pay for 12 months rotational exposure. So you're going from different departments to different departments, $120,000. And upon completion of your rotational period, and you've done well, that they're looking to hire you. So what is this saying? This is now giving our students the ability to compete. We are putting them in a situation where it's not just go do a spreadsheet. These are true resume building tasks that unfortunately our students don't get. They don't have the parents to be able to say, oh, go and do an internship at a Fortune 500. This is what TMCF is bringing to our member schools. I'm going to let Kristen talk about Boeing because I can shout from the rooftop when it comes to Boeing. But if, again, TMCF, we understand the plight that our HR Fortune 500 corporations are going through. This is the reason why you tap into us, because we have that network. We have the ability to go to the students. We know, like, I'm not even going to date myself, but the days of the job fairs, if anybody's been to the National Black MBA, that used to be the kind of premier event when you're trying to find Black talent. We do that at the undergraduate level. We have a version, it's called our Leadership Institute, where we bring in corporations, the Boeings, the Apples, the H&Ms that are looking to hire on the spot for undergrads. Not only do we just interview them, but we train them. Our talent acquisition, Ms. Martinique Thomas, has done a phenomenal job of making sure that our students are ready to hit the ground running. And that's where if corporations are looking for ways to get to the sources, because I tell everyone, now everyone is excited about HBCUs, because our SOAR, but that talent has been there for hundreds of years. Now we're giving them access to them. And so I will say, if you need our help, call us. I'll send you my number. But we do a really great job of preparing our students to be very successful in these opportunities. Thank you.
Well, you've got me excited as well. You just make me want to go out and do something, whatever it is. I just want to do something. So thank you. Kristen and then Cheryl.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know we've talked a lot about the way that Boeing engages HBCUs and the longstanding history that's there. And Heather, I believe you shared in the outset of the panel here about how that landscape has just gotten more and more competitive in recent history. She just said it, that it's true, the talent has been there. The contribution that HBCUs make to the talent landscape as well, in terms of Black talent out in industry, has always been number one. And so as the landscape has gotten more competitive in recent years, I think one of the other key differentiators for us is the commitment. So Robin shared it earlier, right? I mean, it has gotten more challenging, but we and others, here on the panel that are committed in this space, the challenge and complexity is not an excuse for us. So we're committed each year to make sure that HBCUs are a top priority when it comes to hiring for the opportunities that Boeing has in the intern and entry-level space. And as it gets harder and as the landscape changes from this virtual environment that we're in, or additional corporate partners entering the landscape and in this space where we've been for years, we, I think, hang on to our commitment to making sure that no matter how hard it gets, we adjust the way that we're engaging, we adjust to the environment, but ensuring that HBCUs are one of the top priority when it comes to opening up job opportunities. Where do we need to go to meet the HBCU students where they are, and how do we need to evolve over time to make sure that this talent remains top priority and top of mind for us for the opportunities that we have.
Absolutely. Ms. Cheryl, I'm going to take your comment, and then we're going to go to our final question because we have about 15 more minutes.
Okay.
And I want to hear your feedback, all of your feedback on our last question.
Okay. I just wanted to also, say that one of the things I think that is unique within our organization, we do have interns. They are definitely on the front line. They are partnered with, folks that are doing real life things. They're working on highway projects. They're sitting in the meetings. They're going out into the field. Someone was talking the other day and they were talking about you have to get diving certification to inspect the bottom of a bridge. And I was like, what? So they're learning all these really cool things. And they're sitting there with someone who becomes a friend, but also a mentor. And they're able to kind of see the, what's behind the curtain. And I think that's one of the things that's, that's just the beauty of it all. And it's just really cool seeing them because they start out and they're kind of, quiet and they're interns on the call and they're, sitting here like this. And then they blossom and you can actually see that. And they're very professional in their own right when they get ready to go back to school. Because they've had that opportunity to peek behind the curtain. They've also had the opportunity to actually do some things and get professional feedback and to hear the comments on the work that they're doing, because they're not just, filling in spreadsheets, they're doing real work. And so the confidence boost is also there, which makes them so much more, prepared and so much more marketable. So that's all.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Okay, so our final question. So in some of the research that we did for this panel, we learned that statistics have shown that recruitment at HBCUs have drastically increased since the killing of George Floyd. Since this event, HBCUs have seen substantial rise in the number of internship and job interviews provided by major companies, Microsoft being one at the top that has invested heavily. What are your thoughts on this? And has your company seen an increase in the number of activities that you have hosted to bring in more diverse talent? So it's more of a question of, have you been a part of the numbers that has seen this increase in this push to recruit more talented, diverse applicants? Or are you being pretty consistent with your strategy prior to this tragic event? Ms. Cheryl, is your hand still up from the last question, or would you like to address? Okay.
I'm going to come at it from a different angle. Our scholarship numbers, and I will say our scholarships kind of range from access to programmatic, where they do professional development, to internships, to possible exposure. Our scholarships have increased over 100%.
So you're seeing more applicants?
I'm seeing not applicants, partners, corporate partners who are understanding what it means to be involved at the HBCU level and giving students access and opportunities.
So they're offering more scholarships.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
It's been phenomenal. I'm excited about this year. On average, last year we awarded over, I think it was $5 million. I'm ready to increase that like 100-fold. And that's not being braggadocious. That's just making sure people understand the value of our HBCU students and what they can bring to different organizations.
Kristen?
Yeah, I think the world really went through an awakening this past year, and at different levels for sure. We all were experiencing different parts of the issue in different ways, individually, at work, out in the world. So I would hope that all corporate participants in industry had some awakening as well. So, we certainly have racial equity initiatives that were rolled out this past year as a reaction to, but also a continuation of the way that we had been participating as it relates to diversity and equity and inclusion. But also social justice is something that we saw an increase in terms of investments in community partnerships external to the Boeing company that are already doing the work in the community to fight for social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Of course, that has also touched our hiring as well in terms of the new commitments that Boeing announced in terms of increasing representation of Blacks in the company and across the company as well. And it has also impacted the way that there's, certain approaches to listening and seeking feedback and experience from Black employees and studying the Black employee experience. So, I think we were certainly on a trajectory to study equity, diversity, inclusion, representation, Black experience at different levels. But I would hope other corporate participants in industry, like I said earlier, also took the opportunity to step up in different areas as well. It would be a shame not to have had some kind of renewed commitment and urgency around these different areas.
Absolutely. Robin or Miss Cheryl, would you like to add any thoughts, comments?
I would just say that I think that it definitely, we've all been on kind of a roller coaster for the last year and a half. And I think for our organization, it was really kind of I don't want to say a wake up call, but in actuality, I guess it probably was, of the need to be very committed and very intentional and very focused about what we were, trying to do. And so I think it has opened the door for conversations that we perhaps have not had in the past, and for time and energy being put into strategy that we've not done in the past. And that's been a really good thing, a really healthy thing, for the organization. And I really praise a lot of our leaders for allowing that, for encouraging and allowing that conversation and making the space for that. So there's a lot more intentionality, a lot more, we really need to make sure that we're doing the right things. And I think that's good. I think that's good work. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Robin, did you have something to say? I'm sorry, I didn't. Sure.
No, you're fine. I was just going to add, I think this past year, the world got to see what Black people already knew about ourselves, is that we were innovative, that we were necessary, that we mattered, and that we had a lot to bring to the table, if not the table itself. And so Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Cash App, has always been at the forefront of just social justice and social awareness, but even in a company that is so untraditional, there is still work to be done. And so at first you want to be, disappointed, like, hey, what took everyone so long? But then you get excited and say, you know what, this is an opportunity for all of us. So if anybody is on this call and you're wondering, what should you do next? What's that next career opportunity for you? Especially, as a Black professional, especially as a young Black person, your time is absolutely now. To really go out there and showcase what you can do and how necessary we are in the workspace and how innovative we are and what we bring. So even though, when you look at how the response was just in general in society, you almost want it to be disappointed. But then now, again, the world gets to see what we've already known about ourselves. And the world also gets to see what we've known about HBCUs, the reason why they were founded, the reason why they exist, and what they bring to our society, the people that they bring, the experience that they bring. And so again, Cash, they have always been, somewhat that untraditional company that has put people, feelings, and emotions into the work that they do and has listened. But because of all of those different events, it has just only elevated the work that we have the opportunity to do. And it's enhanced it. And then it's also put some uniqueness around it. So even the trajectory that we were on, we have been able to elevate it and add more to it, and to really just get even more excited about it, and to bring in people that want to see the same.
I love it. So we have 6 more minutes, and so I want to go through the 4 panelists, and I want you to leave us with something that you are very excited about. What makes you happy about your job right now, and what you can do, what positive energy that you can put out into the universe in terms of helping our HBCU students prepare and be successful? What makes you happy, and what do you want to do? And any other final thoughts that you would like to leave with us on this fine evening? So we will start with Boeing. We'll just
This
go
is
down our list.
Yeah, this is hard. There's so many parts of what we do that I'm excited about with HBCUs. I guess I have to highlight what is pertinent right now, which is the opportunity for HBCU students to compete for internships for next year. I've shared in the comments a couple times on the Facebook, and a couple of my colleagues have shared as well. But we're hiring now. And again, we've committed positions as a part of our summer 2022 internship positions for HBCU students. So the positions are yours for the taking, and I'm excited to see students across all HBCUs, in addition to our select partner HBCUs, show up and show out for the internship hiring process. So.
Yes, Jalen Mathis, he's one. I'm not sure if you recognize that name.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
he is a family member, and so we're very proud of him and what he's been doing at Morehouse and the Bowen Company. Let's see, Cash App, Ms. Robin.
I'm just going to echo Kristen. Intern season is rapidly approaching. The fall is where all the magic happens. So Cash App will have some opportunities out there as well. And I'm just excited to be a part of that, excited to work with this next generation of talent. And again, excited to really put our Black students at the forefront of what's happening in the workforce, this shift that we're starting to see, these opportunities that didn't even exist 5 and 10 years ago. Students are doing jobs that are newly created, working in spaces that weren't spaces before. So I'm really just excited to see what this next generation does, both professionally and even personally. I think that they have such a compassion, such a fight. They're so powerful, so smart. The things that I talk to these students about were definitely not things I was thinking about when I was in college or high school. So to see them just come out the gate swinging like this, I mean, it's so impressive. So I'm just excited to see what the next generation does in the workforce, how they shift it, how they change it, how they challenge it. And yeah, so stay tuned for Cash App's interns opportunities. And I'm happy to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. It's just going to be Robin Hines.
Well, we will definitely stay in touch with you and all of our panelists to see what work we can do to help make connections with our HBCU students, maybe even starting with our scholars that because of their academic performance and even outside of the classroom, they were awarded $1,000 scholarships. So we definitely would like to stay in contact with you. Okay, so let's see, MoDOT.
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what she just said. I'm excited about seeing them in the workplace. My particular department, we're the beneficiary of an intern that we just brought in. And to see this young man navigate and just the way that he thinks is so different, than how, my generation thinks. And so I'm interested in seeing how these young students are going to shift and form how MoDOT does things going forward. Because I think that they've got a lot of energy and knowledge that they'll bring in a different way. But I'm also excited about how the existing MoDOT employees are now really hankering to learn more about differences and about the experiences that people have had and how those two things will come together, to make for a much more cohesive workforce. We always talk about ourselves as being family, and I think this is a way that you can definitely make sure that we are family. I see the work happening on both sides, and I think that's great.
That is great. Congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And lastly, the mother of us all, the glue that's holding all of this together and making things possible, Miss Dr. Ash with Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Your final words.
My final words, and I'm excited about our mission at Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Our mission is to ensure student success by promoting educational excellence and preparing the next generation of workforce talent through leadership development. We are really changing the world one leader at a time. And the way that we're doing that is we are giving opportunity to students. We're making these amazing strategic alliances with these amazing corporations that are looking for our students. So tmcf.org, who's next, I think it's tmc.org, who's next.tmcf.org. Look for the opportunities. Students, parents, if you're looking for scholarships, you can go to tmcf.org looking for the scholarships. But as a parent, I want my baby to actually have a job upon graduation. Look for your campus coordinator, the TMCF campus coordinator at your public HBCU. I'm just excited about what we do and continue to work with amazing partners like the panelists. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you all so much. This has been enlightening, educational, and I really think that we reached our goal of what we set out to do. So you have provided invaluable information, and it's been an honor to have you with us this evening. I will make a few announcements very briefly, and that is, we hope that for our high school juniors and seniors out there, that they will join us tomorrow for our #CAP program kickoff. It's the college admissions process. We're going to be going through the high level. This is our kickoff to talk about what we're going to be doing from September to May of next year. And then on Thursday, we're going to have our virtual HBCU tour. We have Harris-Stowe State University, we have Lincoln University of Missouri, and we have Hampton University. So we invite you to come back and join us for the rest of our exciting week. So we have night 3 down, and it's been fabulous. Very good information. We have a lot of very positive feedback in our comments, and we thank you all of you that have been on Facebook Live joining us. Now, I would like to introduce Miss Bethany Williams, who is the Vice President of the Gamma Omega chapter, to bring our closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Heather Day, and to the committee. Wonderful information that has been shared here from our panelists. Thank you for joining us and making time to celebrate HBCUs with us this week in Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I do want to make sure that the students understand a couple key things, and I think the last question that the panel or second to the last question really hit home with me, that I spent a lot of time with interns and new employees at MoDOT every day. Know your worth and your wealth. Right now, we are living in a time, because of the pandemic, as well as what we're going through in the social economic class of what we're doing and how we're living in this world. And it's important that these companies are opening up to us as African Americans, and they are willing and ready to see our Black excellence. We started this week off with Black excellence, and we're going to continue to thrive Black excellence and show Black excellence all of this week and as we continue. So I want to say thank you on behalf of Gamma Omega chapter and the Ivy Alliance Foundation, and we hope that you continue to stay in tune to our engaging excellence programs of service as we continue to wrap up this week in HBCU excellence. Thank you again, and good night.